And now an interview with Daniel Tompkins.
First thing I wanted to ask you was, the world was shut down for a bit. That was kind of depressing. How good did it feel both with your solo shows and with TesseracT to be able to play live again?
In some ways it was quite nerve-wracking actually, but in others it was great, obviously, to get back out and do it again. Definitely felt that having 2 years away from being on stage did have an impact. We didn't really have a lot of rehearsals before TesseracT stepped back on stage. We kind of went from, coming off the back of the Sonder campaign, touring for a good 2.5 years and doing nothing, and then we're on, playing big stadiums with Bullets Like Valentine. So that was it was a big adjustment. But I think it took about 2 or 3 shows to get back into it, but then we're feeling the vibe, and it's really nice. When I did my live shows with the solo project, it was a very odd time where the restrictions were kind of lifting, but there was still a lot of public uncertainty and a lot of hesitancy. So a lot of other acts at that time, which is January this year, weren't committing to tours because so many people were pulling out because they had COVID or for one reason or another. But we decided to do it. I don't know how, but it worked really well. And we had people coming out to the shows, and it seemed like nothing had changed really. But there was definitely a slight sense of relief, I think, from everybody to know that live shows are happening again. So yeah, it was great.
With TesseracT earlier this year, you were opening for Dream Theater. How was that?
Pretty crazy. Yeah, by that time, I think we were really keen to get back on stage. There was definitely some of the shows, like we played in Belfast, and I can't quite remember the other shows, but I definitely remember Belfast being not a very well attended event, but still great to be back on stage, great to be sharing it with Dream Theater. So those guys just so professional, perfect performers. But London was at Wembley Arena was one of TesseracT's highlight shows. It was one of our best shows ever. Felt very privileged to be on stage to a full arena of people. It was pretty mind blowing, and it was quite nice because it was an all seated event. But actually, by the end of our set, we had a bit of a standing ovation, which was a real confidence booster for us, especially leading into the next album campaign. I think we're quite excited to showcase where we're at as a band now.
So while during that period where you couldn't play anything, you obviously came out with Portals, which is awesome. That was a very cinematic experience. That did come from the not being able to perform in front of a crowd at the time, was it? Yeah,
that's right. It was an opportunity to do something that we don't normally get the chance to do, and we threw everything at it. Had amazing production, some great videography involved, and it was very different for us. We don't normally do things like that, but we've always wanted to, but never really had the time and the focus. And I think that's one of the blessings during that time, where that gave us a lot of time to kind of think about what we could do to stay relevant and still be active during that quite difficult time. It took a lot of planning. I have to say, 3 months of planning to make that show happen. A lot of coordination, logistical problems to overcome constantly. And that was also one of these moments in time where the restrictions were still kind of in place, but there was a bit of leeway. So, getting large gatherings in place and working in certain environments was prohibited. But because we were in quite a large warehouse and there were so fewer numbers within the team that we were able to get through it. We obviously had to adhere to all the rules and regulations, keeping the distance, following all the necessary guidance. But it happened, and we're super stoked because I think it was the day before there were rumours of another lockdown at some point or increased restrictions. So that show could have very easily not happened if it had gone one way or the other.
Well, I'm very happy it worked out. You also had a double single for the Ukraine released back in April, which I think had like two of the heaviest tracks TesseracT's ever done at this point, but these songs are being left off the next album.
Well, the thing is that those songs that we released, the two singles, are actually very old. They predate the first album.
Really?
And there are a couple of ideas that have always been toyed with on every album. But because the sound has changed quite a lot, they haven't really had a place. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it was a nice opportunity to actually, finally release them, give them a new breath of life, and for us to experiment with the heavier side to TesseracT. I can definitely tell you that there will be very heavy moments on the new record, but those two tracks in particular won't be on the record.
Yeah, because I was about to ask, what is the sound for TesseracT number 5 going to be, if you're able to disclose anything for that?
Sure, I mean, we're more than happy to. We love telling people what we're about and what we're up to. I think it's going to be, yet again, like every album, we try to do something a little bit different to keep it fresh. We don't keep an eye on what is, quote unquote relevant. We don't really, write music to cater for anything other than our own satisfaction, which is something that I think has served us well over the years. I do feel like it's a really nice combination and a nice balance of every aspect of TesseracT. And I mean that sincerely. I feel like we've all pushed the boundaries of our own abilities. I think the past few years have given us a lot of grace in order to level up, for want of a better phrase. And yes, the album is going to be a big one. The previous album was around about 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes long. This one's looking like it's going to be up to an hour long. We've got some big progressive tracks. We have every aspect of heavy to light TesseracT in there. There are ballads, there are monster riffs, big vocals. I feel like, personally, from my perspective, I've really pushed the boundary. I don't think I could do any better, any more than what I physically possibly could. So I'm really excited for people to hear it, because the band we are very, very excited.
Awesome. And you also have your third solo LP coming out. Is that later this year or early 2023?
We obviously released 2 records, Castles and Ruins, Ruins being the heavier rework of Castles. The next record, I'm hoping to release next year after the TesseracT record. The reason I put out 2 singles recently is purely because I like to release music, and also I had an opportunity to have my own collaboration with a brewery, so I had my own double IPA, which is called Liquid Hype, and I released those tracks to kind of accompany that event, which was actually pretty surprising. I didn't expect that to happen. It all happened very quickly. We met a brewery in Newcastle on the back of a Dream Theatre show, actually. They invited us to their pub, and it turns out they're huge TesseracT fans and also master brewers. So we spent a nice evening sampling many a nice drink, and the conversation just led towards, would you like to do a collaboration? And I was like, well, I personally am a big IPA lover, so we went all in with that. And they were super up for it, so keen, very proactive, and it's a powerful drink, and I really like that. It's an 8.5% double IPA.
Is it only available in the UK, or is that...
At the minute, it's only available in the UK, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much due to a lot of the damage that COVID and Brexit has caused on the UK market. But who knows? Hopefully, we may be able to branch out and release it. I do want to do further releases with the guys, and I think that will definitely be a recipe that I would like to repeat, because it is delicious.
Awesome. And with your previous solo LPs, Ruins had Paul Ortiz all over it, and also Pliny and Matt Heffy were on it too. Are we going to see any collaborations or features on your next one? I
haven't really considered guest features, to be honest with you. I mean, I am going to be working with Paul again because we have a really good working relationship. And the funny thing is that we actually have a full album, which we're tidying up at the minute, which existed before the rework of Castles, which turned out to be Ruins. It was actually meant to be a brand new album, but we decided to kind of rejuvenate Castles first. But because of the process of releasing music and having a campaign for it, it's obviously been quite a while. So we're sat on an album, essentially. And that's also another evolution. I'm excited for that as well.
The evolution for this album, at least I could tell from both the two singles, Abyss and Frenzy, they both have either a hard synthwave or industrial thing going on. Is synthwave something you always wanted to explore?
Oh, well, the funny thing with that is that during COVID, I started to listen to a lot of what's referred to as chill wave, which incorporates a lot of these lo-fi beats and nostalgic synth sounds, and I kind of fell in love with it a little bit. I toyed around with actually writing an EP's worth of synthwave and chill wave myself, and I created some nice songs which have some really strong hooks, but I don't think my solo entity, I don't think it's the right place to release that type of music. I feel like I need to stick to what I do best and what the fans really want, and that is a progressive metal record. So these two particular songs that I released were the byproduct of me experimenting with some synthwave, and they're just a bit of fun, to be honest. They aren't really an indication of what the next album's going to sound like. That's just a bit of fun for me, really. I think if you were to reference maybe The Gift from Ruins, I would say that the album will touch upon more of those nuances and those sounds. I think it would be, in some ways, a much heavier, more direct album than Ruins.
Awesome. And you're a vocal coach too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you ever find that a lot of people who want to get really into singing try to mimic someone else before they find their own voice?
I do, and in some ways, I would kind of encourage people to do that. In others, I would say be very careful of doing that, because obviously you're going to potentially mold yourself into something that isn't really true to yourself. I think it's important to not, I mean, when you're creating and writing stuff, I don't feel like mimicking other artists is a good idea ever. But in terms of developing your voice, definitely sing all your favourite songs, sing like all your favourite artists. But you have to kind of, to really stand out and progress in the music world today, you've got to be yourself and find your own angle. But sure, everyone's got influences, even I've got influences. I'm a big Maynard fan, a big Chino Marino fan, I'm a big Chester Bennington fan, and a million other singers. So you can hear little tweaks and little sounds here and there that might resonate with another vocalist, but in essence, I think it's really important to definitely develop your voice and what you really sound like.
Before I let you go, I'm going to wrap up with a quick round of potpourri questions I like to call 3 questions from the magic crystal ball. Are you ready?
Yeah.
If you were to be reincarnated into any mythic beast of your choice, what would it be?
Oh my word. That's an excellent question that I cannot seem to answer on the spot right now. Maybe, I don't know why, but I'm thinking a Minotaur for no particular reason, purely because that's the only one mythical beast that's coming to my mind right now. So that's a really lame answer, but maybe a Minotaur.
Now this question's just lazy, because I asked this to anybody from the UK, but tea or coffee?
Oh, well, I'm split right in between. I'm a big coffee lover, but I'm also a huge tea drinker, and I also have my own tea business as well, so I am actually a tea developer. So I'm really, I guess if I had to choose, it would have to be tea.
Believe it or not, you're actually the first person I've talked to from the UK who's actually said tea.
Very interesting. Well, there's a big coffee movement in the UK, and there has been for the past several years. There's lots of new coffee shops popping up everywhere, and tea's kind of taking a seat back. I think it's more of a generational thing. I think the younger generation are definitely coffee focused. But yeah, when I talk about tea, I'm talking about fine grade tea, scented tea, matcha, the finer teas in life, not just your standard, black tea, for sure. There are a million different teas. Definitely worth trying.
And finally, on Twitch, we've seen you wipe out on a lawnmower to Thundercat. What else might we hear you sing in the future while crashing in Wreckfest?
Gonna mow your lawn, gonna trim your grass, gonna strip your bush. I can't take us out. The boys are too good for this game. We know what's going on. Sorry about that. Oh, he's just been taken out. He's just been wiped.
Man, I absolutely love streaming. It's been a pleasure over the last 3 years. I'm a big gamer as well. I don't normally play racing games, but I'm more of a do guy. I'm a bit of a fanatic, and for the past year I've been pushing some world records in Doom 2016, just flexing. But also I'm a massive Resident Evil fan, so I game those constantly. One of my favourite franchises. Yeah, I'm up for anything. I do get gifted a lot of games from my community, so I've got a big list. I'm slowly working my way through.
And with that, I'd like to thank you, Daniel Tompkins, for taking the time to speak with us this week. Quick summary, what do you got coming up?
Well, in the immediate future, in November, I'm hopefully releasing the live Ruined experience. So obviously TesseracT did Portals. I've worked with the same lighting engineers and videographers to put together a live show of my solo album Ruins, and it incorporates, we have Amos from TesseracT playing bass, we've got Paul Ortiz, Chimps on guitar, Mike Mallion from Monuments on drums, and Pete Skipper from Equaler on third guitar. And it's the first time that I've ever been recorded playing the guitar and singing at the same time, so it's a bit of a nerve-wracking thing, but it's going to be an excellent live show, which will be a ticketable online event in November, and then we're looking forward to doing the TesseracT album next year, and next solo record straight after. So busy, but all good stuff.
Well, that sounds exciting, and I'm going to let you go here, but thanks a lot for talking with us.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.